But and it sure feels good to be hosting you on this review of newspaper headlines. Of course, as you can see, I have an array of newspapers for our review in this first segment of the show. And of course, is leadership. Leadership is Nigeria's most influential newspaper, and as expected, we always want to go with the best. Leadership has its headline story: Supreme Court raises posers over Chicago varsity documents. Supreme Court raises posers over Chicago varsity documents. Reserves judgment in article, Obi's appeals, dismisses APM suit. Finds Smart at DME 2 million naira over Kogi APC governorship tickets. I'll take that leading story once again, and of course, incidentally, is the same story that lives in most of the papers we are reviewing this day. Supreme Court raises posers over Chicago varsity documents. Reserves judgment in article, Obi's appeals, dismisses APM's suit. Finds Smart at DME 2 million naira over Kogi APC governorship tickets. By the side of that headline stories, we have federal government IHS. Nigeria launched 3 million talent learning initiative. Federal government IHS Nigeria launched 3 million talent learning initiative. CSO's IPAC seek unbundling of INEC new electoral act. Naira crashes to 1,210 naira per dollar. Israel-Hamas war, Gaza gets more aids, death toll hits 6,400. And just on the strip of this headline story, we have aftermath of leadership report. Student loan scheme now takes off in January. Of course, leadership newspaper carried the leading story yesterday that 3 months even after the signing of student loan scheme into law, that it was yet to take off. But obviously reacting to that same story, the president says student loan scheme now takes off in January. Federal government tackles illiquidity, grants amnesty to forex exchange outside banking system. Federal government tackles illiquidity, grants amnesty to forex exchange outside banking system. Above the masthead, we have Wike order strict enforcement of tax revenue laws. P&ID, UK court reverses $11 billion award against Nigeria. P&ID, UK court reverses $11 billion award against Nigeria. Because the story that has generated so much encomiums and laughter and happiness among Nigerians since the news broke yesterday that after many years, Nigeria gets justice in the fraudulent award of a contract to P&ID. And with that, we move to the page 3 of our stand of the paper, where we have our stand. Our stand today is on sudden death syndrome. Sudden death syndrome. Many Nigerians today are falling, slumping, dying suddenly without any prior warning. And of course, that is what the editorial is all about: sudden death syndrome. With that, we move over to the back page of the column, where we have Tuesday column with Ray Murphy. Ray Murphy is writing on Nigerians are getting poorer by the day. Nigerians are getting poorer by the day. Find out more as you log on to the website of Leadership, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we have the Punch newspaper next on our menu. The Punch says Tinubu certificates prove alleged forgery beyond reasonable doubt. Supreme Court says article. Tinubu certificates prove alleged forgery beyond reasonable doubt. Supreme Court says article. Court reserves judgment on OB. Labour Party's appeal dismisses APM's case. Article insists on CSU evidence. SVP's deposition invalid, says Tinubu. And beneath that leading story, headline story, we have pictorials on flood that has involved some of these riverine areas. Oyan Dam, flood sacks open communities. Government declares emergency. That is the story for the pictorial on the Punch. Oyan Dam, flood sacks open communities. Government declares emergency. The story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Punch. Beneath that, we have military task force arrests 73 bandits, recovers arms. Slain Nigerian student, need compros murder, NAS demands justice. Federal government IHS plan 1 billion naira tech talent communities. We move to the ones above the masthead where we have UK court dismisses $11 billion P&ID suit. Nigeria demands damages. Federal government plans $10 billion to stabilize Naira, eyes NNPCL for forests. FEC okays $3.45 billion World Bank loan for power orders. For more on these headline stories, inside stories, of course, the back page, log on to the website of The Punch, www.punchng.com. From The Punch, we have Daily Sun next on our menu. Daily Sun also leads with the Supreme Court followed yesterday. Supreme Court prepares for poll judgment day. Supreme Court prepares for poll judgment day. Reserves ruling in Atiku Obi's petitions against Tinubu. President insists SVP's fresh evidence alien to law. APM drops charges after bashing for filing frivolous appeal. Just by the side, we have President applause as Nigeria wins $11 billion P&ID case. We've been vindicated, AGF says. Fuel scarcity may worsen as 86 firms dump petrol import permit over forest crisis. Autonomy in parliamentary workers to short national state assemblies. Israel-Hamas conflict escalates beyond Gaza amid relentless air strikes. Israel arms civilian security squads fearing internal strife. And the second leading story on the Daily Sun today says federal government will achieve $1 trillion economic target in 2026, $4 trillion in 2035, according to President Bola Tinubu. Vast to clear forest backlog. Kogi Guba, Supreme Court dismisses Adeyemi's suit, affirms Odudu as APC candidate. The story continues on page 28 of Daily Sun. And just before we leave Daily Sun, we have the one bit side, the masthead, which says FEC approves setting up a poverty alleviation trust fund to remit $5 billion annually to the fund. OK's draft policy solid minerals development. OK's draft policy solid minerals development. For more on Daily Sun inside stories and the back page and its editorial, log on to the website of Daily Sun, www.sunnynewsonline.com. From Daily Sun, Vanguard is next on our menu. Vanguard's leading story, same as the previous ones. Presidential tussle, article CSU evidence not admissible. Tinubu, APC, INEC. Presidential tussle, article CSU evidence not admissible. Tinubu, APC, INEC. Justice Okoro's 7-man Supreme Court panel reserves verdict on article Obi's appeal. Says there are conflicting letters from CSU. Article's fresh allegations has elements of crime. Justice Okoro. Why court should overlook technicalities? Article. Court dismisses APM case for being frivolous. PDP deluded in for spectacular defeat at Supreme Court, says APC. The second leading story says subsidy removal, exchange rate unification. We have achieved desired objectives, Tinubu. We have subsidy removal, exchange rate unification. We have achieved desired objectives, according to President Tinubu. And above the man said we have states FCT grow IGRO by 1.6% to 1.9 trillion naira in 2022. Nigeria wins $11 billion P&ID case in UK court. FEC approves $5 billion annual humanitarian poverty alleviation trust fund. Autonomy, state assembly staff begin nationwide strike tomorrow. Kogi Governor poll, Supreme Court affirms Odudu as APC candidate. Attack on Tinubu, Wike, Northern Elders disown Gumi. Attack on Tinubu, Wike, Northern Elders disown Gumi. For more stories in Vanguard newspaper and continuation of these headline stories, log on to the website of Vanguard. www.vanguardngr.com. From Vanguard, the Nation is next on our menu. Nation leads with Supreme Court agrees articles lawyers over CSU documents. Supreme Court agrees articles lawyers over CSU documents. Apex Court dismisses APM's appeal, reserves judgment in Article OB versus Tinubu. The story continues on page 5 of the Nation. And beneath that, we have Ondo Assembly pushes ahead with Ayedatiwa's impeachment. CJ gets another letter to set up panel. Ondo Assembly pushes ahead with Ayedatiwa's impeachment. CJ gets another letter to set up panel. Forest crisis, federal government to inject $10 billion in weeks. Unauthorized dollar transactions to become illegal. Consumer credit scheme soon, says president. And on this trip, we have Senate uncovers duplications in East-West Road contracts. Senate uncovers duplications in East-West Road contracts. The story continues on page 7 of the Nation. And the Nation also has on its trip up just beneath the masthead, FEC OK's $5 billion annual fund for humanitarian poverty alleviation. Above the masthead, we have victory in $100 billion P&ID UK case, cites President EFCC. Victory in $11 billion P&ID UK case, cites President EFCC. Court voice multi-billion-dollar arbitration award. Coast clear for Ododo as Supreme Court dismisses Adeyemi's appeal. Federal government confirms January start of student loan scheme. These are the headline stories on the Nation today. Today, Tuesday, October 24, 2023. For more continuation on these headline stories, inside stories, and the editorial and back page, log on to the website of the Nation, www.thenationonlineng.net. From the Nation, we move over to the last paper we have on our menu. No, not the last, second to the last paper we have on our menu today, and that is This Day. This day says relief as UK court quashes $11 billion judgment debt against Nigeria. Relief as UK court quashes $11 billion judgment debt against Nigeria. The Riders, London court holds award obtained by fraud. 6 evaluation of arbitration process. Tinubu federal government applaud judgment. Describe verdict as victory over corruption. Indictment of predatory international investors. Review company approached government last week for out of court settlement. Say further hearing by court will determine cost payable by P&ID. I'll take that again. Relief as UK court quashes $11 billion judgment debt against Nigeria. London court holds award obtained by fraud. 6 evaluation of arbitration process. Tinubu federal government applaud judgment. Describe verdict as victory over corruption. Indictment of predatory international investors. Review company approached government last week for out of court settlement. Say further hearing by court will determine cost payable by P&ID. The story continues on page 10 of This Day, and of course victory for Nigerians on this judgment. P&ID UK court clears Shashore of corruption allegations by Nigeria. P&ID UK court clears Shashore of corruption allegations by Nigeria. The story also continues on page 333 of This Day. Presidential poll, Tinubu article will be no fate before November 5. SVP maintains fresh forgery evidence at heart of country's constitution. Democracy. APC, PDP in for another round of defeats. And above the strip, we have Israel fights 3-pronged war in Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. US says is ready to get involved. Story continues on page 8. And above the masthead of This Day, we have Tinubu vows to clear forest backlog. Says $1 trillion economy feasible by 2026. targets completion of 3 trillion naira national infrastructure stock in 10 years rather than 300 years. Edun, $10 billion forest inflows due in few weeks. Additional tough decisions inevitable, Cardoso, the CBN governor, declares. Naira weakens to all-time low of 1,210 per dollar on parallel markets. Official forex now 793.34 naira per dollar. The story continues on page 10 of this day. For more stories inside this day and continuation of these headline stories, the editorial and back page, log on to the website of this day, www.thisdaylive.com. And from this day, we move over to the last paper we have on our menu this Tuesday, October 24, 2023 edition of your breakfast show on television inside Nigeria. The Guardian. The Guardian leads with host communities kick as proposed BIA review shrinks 3% allocation. Host communities kick as proposed PIA, that is a Petroleum Industry Act review, shrinks 3% allocation. Host communities must fund new portal introduced by NUPRC. Host communities must hire, pay lawyers and chartered accountants with at least 10 years experience. 3% of OFM's OPEX to host community. These are the issues leading on the Guardian today. And beneath that, we have as injunction elapses, Odua Assembly reopens Ayedatiwa's impeachment process. APC kicks as Supreme Court reserves judgment in Atiku Obi's appeal. P&ID $11 billion award against Nigeria obtained by fraud. Tinubu hates victory. Tinubu targets $1 trillion economy, hopeful of $10 billion inflow to ease forest crisis. Adeyemi loses again as Supreme Court affirms Usman Ododo APC candidate. The story continues on page 29 of the Guardian. Federal government IHS TOA seal $1 billion deal on digital communities. Osun suspends foreign trips for officials. The story continues on page 4 of the Guardian. For inside stories, editorial, back page, and continuation of these headline stories on the Guardian today, log on to the website www.guardian.ng. Well, viewers, with this, we've come to the end of today's Tuesday, October 24, 2023 edition of your breakfast program on television inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Ogwebo. I want to come your way again, same time, same station, tomorrow on the hour. Don't forget to tune in. I'm Winifred. See you there.
For watching. Contact 080-3686-6188. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have